We just got our hands on our very first look at the Galaxy S24 series. So the regular Galaxy S24, the S24 Plus, and the Galaxy S24 Ultra. But what's new and what do you need to know? If I wanted to sum up this year's S24 lineup in a sentence, it would be it's fairly familiar hardware with some tweaks here and there, but Samsung is relying really heavily on you using AI to get the best experience out of the S24s. The S24 series across the board this year have mostly minor improvements to how the phones look and feel, and in their hand they're pretty similar to last year's S23 lineup, and if you were to put them side by side, you might even struggle to figure out what phone is what. But it's a design that Samsung have worked on and didn't really need to mess with it this year, so they didn't. Let's focus on the non-Ultra phones first though. The S24 and S24 Plus come in some really nice colours this year, so you have Cobalt Violet, Amber Yellow, Marble Grey and Onyx Black, and I'm a sucker for a traditional grey phone, but Cobalt Violet this year looks really sleek and clean as well. The regular S24 comes with a 6.2-inch flat Full HD display, a 4000 mAh battery, and a base storage of 128 gigs going up to 256 and starts at $799. And the S24 Plus has a 6.7-inch QHD flat display, which is a nice upgrade, a massive 4900 mAh battery, and a base storage of 256 gigs going up to 512, and this one starts at $999. A few things to note as well is that the S24 and S24 Plus both share a brand new top screen brightness of 2600 nits, and enough of a shrink in bezel to allow for the display to add that 0.1 inch, taking the S24 Plus from 6.6 to 6.7 inches, and the regular S24 from 6.1 to 6.2 inches. But some of the specs are unchanged, and most notably, this is the cameras. Both the regular S24 and the S24 Plus share those same camera specs, so getting one over the other isn't really going to change what you get in terms of cameras. And because Samsung hasn't upgraded these from last year, you're still getting that 50 megapixel main camera, the 12 megapixel ultra wide, and that 10 megapixel telephoto 3x optical zoom. Maybe a bit disappointing that Samsung haven't changed the camera specs on the regular S24 and 24 Plus, but there again, Samsung are banking on you using AI to make your photos even better. Both of these phones share something else in common as well this year, but this one, it depends on where you live. Samsung is kind of going back to business as usual here, and if you live in the US, then the S24, the S24 Plus, and the Ultra all get that Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy. However, if you live outside the US, then Samsung is giving you the Exynos 2400 for the S24 and the S24 Plus. No matter where you live in the world, if you pick up the S24 Ultra, then you're going to get the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Maybe a little bit disappointing if you're outside the US that you're going to get the Exynos 2400 when everyone else gets the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 on the S24 regular and S24 Plus, but only time will tell how these two stack up against each other. So that's about it for the changes on the S24 regular and the S24 Plus, but let's talk about the S24 Ultra. The S24 Ultra sees a bit more of an upgrade over the others in the lineup this year, and it starts with that titanium that surrounds the phone. And this might not be the first time we've ever seen titanium on a smartphone, but it is the first time we've seen it on a Samsung device. Because of that titanium, Samsung also gave us 4 brand new colors for the S24 Ultra, and these 4 colors are titanium yellow, titanium violet, titanium grey, and titanium black. And I think that the titanium grey is the cleanest looking by far out of all of these colours for the Ultra. And it might be a bit hard to see that titanium yellow here, but actually I'm a really big fan of this when you get it in your hand in person. One of the biggest changes though on the S24 Ultra is that Samsung are finally ditching the curved display and giving us that flat display. The last few years we've just become used to having that curved Ultra display, but this year that 6.8-inch 120Hz AMOLED display has dropped the curve altogether, which means there's slightly more bezel here, but the trade-off is that it should be easier just to navigate that display when you're using the S24 Ultra. There's some other small upgrades here as well, so for example, you get a slightly smaller display cutout, a 2600 nit brightness display, and Samsung say that the Ultra now uses Corning Gorilla Armor glass, but things like the S Pen just stay the same as last year. Another decent upgrade here though to the S24 Ultra is to its cameras, and not that main sensor because we're still getting that 200 megapixels that we had on last year's S23 Ultra, but where the change comes in here is to that periscope lens, which has taken a nice jump to 50 megapixels. We haven't actually been able to test that 5x optical zoom yet, but Samsung say that through its research, consumers tend to use 3x and 5x zoom more frequently than the 10x zoom. So wanted to provide the highest possible resolution with that new 50 megapixel sensor. As far as price goes for the Ultra this year, it starts at $1299 for the base 256GB model, then $1419 for the 512, and if you need that 1TB of storage, you're looking at $1659. And no matter which one of these phones that you pick up in terms of the Ultra, you're still going to get 12 gigs of RAM as well. There's one thing you'd have heard Samsung mention a lot at Unpacked, and that is AI. So let's talk about Galaxy AI. Galaxy AI is a big push for Samsung this year, and no matter what phone you pick up, Samsung say that Galaxy AI is coming to all three of the S24 models, with nothing being exclusive to any device except for features that require advanced camera hardware. Galaxy AI is just Samsung's blanket term for anything AI that you can do on the S24 series, and it mixes between cloud-based and on-device AI, and some of these AI features are actually really cool. Take Circle to search, for example. You long press the home button in whatever app you're in, and you can draw a circle around an object that you want to search, and it will bring up the results right where you are without having to leave the app. You have Chat Assist built into the keyboard that can suggest the tone of a message when you're writing, so it can suggest a more professional tone for someone you work with, or maybe even a more playful tone for someone that you might actually know. And with this being built into the keyboard, it means that it can work across any messaging app that you want to use. And within that, it can also translate what you're writing in up to 36 languages. There's transcript assist as well. So if you're using the voice recorder app between two or more people, it can detect who's speaking and give you a summary of that recording once it's finished. And another feature that comes with Galaxy AI, you might have seen on another phone somewhere else, but with Samsung, it's called Generative Edit. With Samsung's Generative Edit feature, you're able to remove objects from a scene, resize specific parts of a photo, and move anything around that you want. It can also help you reframe pictures, change the orientation, fill the sides of an image to make it wider, taller. It's actually a really cool feature to have. And the best thing about this is, as Samsung said, the Galaxy AI features come to all of the S24 lineup this year, so no matter what you have, the Plus, the regular, or the Ultra, you still get to use things like Generative Edit. And if you think that's it with what Samsung are bringing with Galaxy AI this year, there's still more. We have other AI features such as Note Assist. There's a browsing assist that can summarize web pages for you. And you've got live translation, which we've not seen working just yet with our hands-on, but this is probably one of the most exciting features that is coming to Galaxy AI, as you can have your phone calls translated in real time, and only you need to have a Galaxy S24. Anyone else who's calling you can have an iPhone, another Android phone, a landline, and it'll make this translation in real time. The other thing we should mention as well, that Samsung announced that they're going to do 7 years of software support for the S24 series this year, so picking up one of these S24s might not be a bad idea. I think there's a lot to be excited about this year with the S24 series, and Samsung are banking on Galaxy AI being a big enough draw that you might just forget that the hardware this year really hasn't taken a huge step forward. Let us know what you think though of the S24 series this year, and do you think that Galaxy AI is a big enough draw to get people buying these phones and upgrading over the S23s or even an S22? There's a load of testing though that we need to still do of Samsung's offerings this year, so make sure you subscribe to the channel because we'll put these S24s through their paces and you don't want to miss that. So if you subscribe to the channel, then we will see you later.